Good morning. My name is Anni Rytkonen. It seems I'm one of the only Finnish presenters here today. Our other presentation is actually almost in parallel with me in the other hall. So it seems I have to leave after my presentation, but I hope you can ask me during the presentation here. I'm here only for you, so any questions, please ask. My background is in computer science and at the University of Helsinki, and you might know the institution from one of its student work called Linux. Minor student practice work nowadays. I thought that we could I'll show you first the starting point from 3 years ago, and I refer also to the Moodle blog entry I wrote a couple of weeks ago. There are some background information for you from our national point of view and also from University of Helsinki point of view. And then I thought I would tell you what we have done and why we have done what we've done, and then lessons we learned on the process. Actually, we haven't finished quite yet. We are going to finish the migration in the autumn this year, but almost everything is done already. Our university is the largest one in Finland and leading university in Finland, the oldest one, with 4,000 teachers and about 35,000 students. And 3 years ago, we had two web-based learning environments in parallel use. We had both Blackboard, and it's a version of Blackboard which comes from WebCT. So we just had upgraded from WebCT to Blackboard. And then we had Moodle 1.6. And in addition to that, we had BSCW, and we had wikis and blogs and web pages and so on, lots of tools. And we noticed that we should reduce the number of systems, because teachers were complaining that should we know all of this, and students were complaining that if teachers use one system, so teachers know exactly one, then it might be that students at an institution or department use 6 or 7 different systems, because the teachers are allowed to select any system we provide. We decided to collect feedback from the teachers using Blackboard and Moodle. So Blackboard teachers were answering questions concerning Blackboard, and Moodle teachers questions concerning Moodle. And then based on the decision, based on the results of the survey, we made the decision that we would run down Blackboard and continue with Moodle. The process looks like this, that we first had the comparative survey for teachers, and then based on that survey we made the decision on the emphasis of Moodle. And then to know more about Blackboard use, because Blackboard is kind of a black box, you don't get any statistics from there and so on, so we had to ask the users how they were using Blackboard and what kind of needs they might have, and then how many courses they had and what kind of contents they had on their courses. That kind of information that is automatically receivable from Moodle. And based on the survey too, then we had further decisions on the schedule of the rundown, and then also I was recruited at that point for 3 years to take care of the migration and other things also, to educate teachers to Moodle and so on. And then to know more about teacher plans and needs, we had a third survey, autumn 2009. And then there we asked about teacher schedules on the migration, because there we have lots of teachers who have ongoing courses, so they don't start and end, but they are like seminars, and students come to them, and one student might be 1 year, but the course is ongoing. So we had to decide what to do with those. And based on the survey results, then we had instructions and training and technical support. And here are some statistics I thought you might be interested. Comparisons. Here on the left, there's the technical comparison. The question was something about technical functioning of the system in questions. The Finnish concept is difficult to translate to English, actually, because it wasn't that well selected. But there you can see that Moodle is the red ones. So you can see that it's slightly better than Blackboard technically. And then pedagogically, Moodle seems to be somewhat better than Blackboard. But the interesting part here is that teachers cannot say, they couldn't judge which one, how Moodle could be used pedagogically. They were a third of both systems, and that was quite surprising. If teachers have used the system in teaching, how can't they judge the pedagogical part? And the interesting part here in the technical issues is that Blackboard was rated very bad for some teachers and then very good on the other hand. And actually we had lots of technical problems in Blackboard. For example, student login wasn't possible at certain times. So I don't really understand why they could rate it very good or good technically. But anyway. And then we had comparison on some of the properties also, and here you can see like the red one is Moodle again. It's a bit higher, a bit better rated than Blackboard. And additionally, Blackboard teachers were about double to the number of Moodle teachers answering. So why Moodle and not Blackboard? We had some statistics showing that Moodle was a bit better, but only like somewhat better. And then a third of teachers couldn't even evaluate all the usability issues. But then we had an overwhelming amount of complaints on Blackboard technical problems. So lastly, probably it was like Blackboard was non-usable and Moodle was technically well working, and maybe that was the final decision. I wasn't making this decision yet. I wasn't there at the moment. Some emphasizing actions we did on Moodle. It was taken to systematic use in two ways. For students, we have a compulsory ICT driving license, a course that they must take immediately when they come to the university. And we had provided it both in Blackboard and Moodle. But then we stopped the Blackboard version, and all students had to take the course in Moodle. But of course, this concerned only the new students, and the third and fourth, fifth, and so on year students knew even Blackboard, or some of them. And then Moodle is nowadays used on all our university pedagogy courses. The situation in Finland is a bit different than here in UK, because our teachers don't have necessarily teacher education when they teach at universities. So we have to educate them as teacher training in university pedagogy. And they are really large courses, and you can get teacher qualification if you do all of those. So the university pedagogy courses had various platforms, BSCW and so on. So we agreed on Moodle on all of those. And then some pedagogical and technical tuning. We had our own theme, as I assume all of you have also. And then we have two own language packages that are quite heavily edited to support teachers' pedagogical work. We wanted to translate the concept so that teachers would have easy to select specific activities for their pedagogical purposes. And the original Finnish and Swedish translations didn't support this. Then we didn't want to use the internal wiki, as it's somewhat problematic technically. So we have our own Confluence wiki anyway, so we integrated that. But it's unfortunately not that much in use. And then, well, one own add-on, but, well, I'll tell you about that later. And then we have a large teacher's guide wiki, and that's quite important. We are developing it still. We don't want to have it as a technical manual, but start from pedagogical needs, like, and it's structured based on the teacher's teaching process, like what you're going to do before the course starts, and then what you're going to do during the course and then after the course. And pedagogical hints included. And it's quite large at the moment, and I could show it for you, but unfortunately it's only in Finnish. But I can link it if you want to see it, the structure. And then we had groupings and equation editor later on based on teacher needs. Some actions. We made the decision 2008, so almost 3 years ago. We gradually restricted Blackboard use, first no courses, and then no new sections. And just before we reduced, we put on the restriction, we had some follow-up during the previous academic semester. It looks like this. Hopefully this works. It's in Finnish, but I hope you see this is faculties, and the blue ones are sections, and the red ones are number of teachers. So here you can see that just before it was not possible to create new sections, the number of sections actually wasn't that big. So our information had gone through that it wasn't good to use Blackboard anymore. And then we had student access restricted at the beginning of this year, so teachers get in there still if they want to take some materials, but they can't teach there anymore. And then we have some corresponding teacher activity follow-up last, where's the mouse? Where's the mouse? Oh, there. We had corresponding teacher login or logout follow-up. This is the number of teachers logged in during this time period, and the smaller graphs are presenting those teachers who logged in both this week and the week before, and the green one presenting those teachers logged in this week and the week before and the week before that. So you can see that active teachers logged in every week was 10. So finally, we had almost no teachers using Blackboard actively, but the number of teachers logged in every now and then was a bit larger, meaning that they took their course contents to Moodle. And then we are going to restrict teacher access the 1st of June this year. So overall, over 3 years will be used for the process, and this is like a huge amount of time. What we did to support teachers, we had really active informing about the schedule, and we used the Survey 3 results to fine-tune the instructions we had, both in Finnish and English. The English instructions are available here, so if you're interested, you can go and read them. We have an e-learning support network in our faculties. They are persons who know about all our tools, and then they support teachers in using them, and they actually technically also sometimes build the course areas. So we first trained them, and we have strong collaboration with them anyway. And then we had teacher trainings. We tried special sessions for Blackboard teachers for the migration, but almost no one came to them. And then we have Moodle Basics, which are really popular courses. Unfortunately, only one session per course. We would like to give like 3 sessions a course, but no one comes to that long courses. or training sessions, they want to have only 3 hours, unfortunately. That's a bit too little. And then we had some technical migration support for quizzes. We used a tool called Responders. But that was good for most of the question types, but not all. So we didn't migrate any contents automatically, and almost nothing for the teachers. They were expected to do almost everything themselves, because we wanted them to learn the new system while they were migrating. So we wanted them to take a course or read the instructions and really plan the Moodle course area from scratch, instead of just importing the old contents and then do similar courses than they had in Blackboard. Most of the teachers read the instructions on the web. Most of our teachers don't come to trainings, unfortunately. Yeah, we wanted them also to look back on their old courses and to probably develop them also. And from technical perspective, we wanted to do some housekeeping and not to migrate anything extra. And we didn't even have tools for migration. There are no tools for exporting contents from Blackboard. So if you're considering a similar migration, then be prepared for this. And then we hadn't even resources or motivation to do copy pasting from Blackboard to Moodle, since we had lots of ancient courses there. They had come from WebCT to Blackboard, and now we would have had to move them to Moodle. Why we might have succeeded in the migration was that we used enormous amounts of time. We had 3 years, so we really gave teachers the peace to end their ongoing courses that went on for an academic year or a year and a half. And then after they had ended their courses, then they had time to learn the new system. And then, of course, the technical restrictions forced the last ones to migrate during last Christmas holiday. Then we had enough resources, as I was recruited, and then we had a team doing the support. We are about 8 at our university. Then the student knowledge was important. Teachers knew that new students would know Moodle, but they wouldn't know Blackboard. So if the teachers want to use Blackboard, they have to teach the students to use it, which means extra work for the teachers. And then we knew our users. We knew, based on the surveys, how they would use Blackboard, and we could personalize all support actions for our target group. And luckily, there were very few problematic quizzes. We had one teacher who had 2 or 3 quizzes with 1,500 questions or 3,000 questions. Not possible to migrate with responders totally. So that took a couple of days of our time, and then of his time also, because he wanted to do it properly. But also, luckily and unfortunately, there were not that many quizzes. That means that our teachers mostly use Blackboard for only course material, instead of having discussions and active student work. And finally, actually, the target system was perceived as better than the source system. I've heard rumors from teachers saying that, well, I didn't want to migrate because I wanted to use the Blackboard. I liked Blackboard and so on. But when I tried Moodle, then I actually noticed that Moodle was indeed better than Blackboard. Now I know that I don't have to remember things I had to remember in Blackboard. Moodle is intuitive to use. Instead of in Blackboard, you had to remember what to do when you had one course per academic year. or then you had to have notes on your wall on how to do things. Issues still in progress. I think this is something we have discussed here yesterday also, or it has come up here in the discussions that the technical perspective is the leading one when you're developing web-based education. And I've noticed that when Moodle is now technically working well in University of Helsinki, the active development has ended, and I'm quite disappointed at that. It should be that we are now developing it to work better from pedagogical perspective, to support teachers and students to do even better. We don't have any own development or even modules from Moodle.org. It seems that in Finnish higher education, it's the less the better. When we are going to Moodle 2, the whole Finnish higher education sector would like to reduce the number of plugins to 0. We have, I have a statistics here on the number of add-ons or a number of modules installed above the core in Finnish higher education, and that shows that we have 1 or 2, max 3 extra modules, and that's quite little, I think, compared to what you have here. It seems that you have lots of personalizations in your Moodles here, and that's the way I'd like it too. Because I know there are modules that would support teachers, and our teachers have needs that some modules would fulfill.
Yeah, but what happens when you upgrade to Moodle 2?
Yeah, the question was what happens when we upgrade to Moodle 2. I don't know, because the Finnish higher education sector is going to upgrade to Moodle 2 first in summer 2012. So it seems at the moment, because the current version is so stable, and we don't know what's going to happen in Moodle 2.
Well, what I meant was if you have lots of plugins on 1.9, when you upgrade to 2, all the teachers will use these plugins, and then what happens?
Exactly, that's the reason why we are reducing the number. That there seems to be problems in the migration to Moodle 2, and that's actually a shame. It's a bit downgrade from what we've had so far. That so many higher education providers want to decrease number of good possibilities. And I've heard some comments on this even here, that the less the better. Then we have still miss pedagogical common guidelines, meaning that departments or faculties should have one major tool they are using for all teaching. Instead, teachers are allowed to select any tools they want to. And we should also design Moodle trainings together with departments so that they really support their needs. To be top-down, actually, yes. Because we don't have any systematic use of Moodle so far. I've heard here that some of you have Moodles on Moodle course areas for every course or every module, but unfortunately we're not that far yet. But teachers are allowed to select it. So some do's and don'ts. I recommend you to listen to your teachers. Surveys are a very easy method to receive information, and it's very useful. Actually, I've got altogether 700 responses to the 3 surveys, and that's really useful. And actually, I'm going to use the data to my PhD also. The transparency in decision making is something we forgot in the beginning. Like we asked the teachers what they liked, and they told us what they liked, but then we never told them what the result was. So when we had the second survey, and we made the decision to run down Blackboard, then the teachers were complaining that why didn't you ask us who are using Blackboard? We would like to continue with it. So if we would have published the results, they wouldn't have probably complained and had that much resistance. Then migrate long enough. 3 years sounds horribly long, but maybe, at least academic years, so teachers have time to end their ongoing courses. So no quick actions. Then Blackboard statistics do not exist, but anyway, try to make good use of any statistics you get, even logins or logouts or so on. Then the migration is useful for technical and pedagogical facelift and clean up. Actually, so we didn't allow old courses, and then pedagogical development could also occur. And then that the new system should be tempting to migrate to, because teachers are complaining anyway. So hopefully they would notice afterwards that the decision was really good and useful and meaningful for them. And actually I've heard some rumors from the departments that teachers who have considered using web-based methods in their teaching haven't taken Blackboard to use, but now when we have Moodle, then those teachers consider taking Moodle to use. And that's quite important also, not only those ones who are using already what they are using, but those who aren't using anything. And that's because Moodle is considered intuitive. And then we had lots of negotiations for commercial solutions to find migration engines, but they don't exist. So be prepared for handwork and copy-paste if you want to support your teachers. And the one own module we received some unfinished code from a Finnish company. And that's the problematic issue when migrating to Moodle 2, because it's an own module and we don't have own development. We don't know what to do with it. Teachers wouldn't like probably to delete it totally. Okay, these were my 12 content slides I promised to present to you. Thank you for your time. I wonder whether you have any questions or comments concerning this.
Could you tell us a little bit more about your experience with responders for migrating quizzes? You seem to suggest that responders had a limit on the number of questions.
Yes, actually I wasn't the one who was technically doing the migrations, but my colleague who's been doing them told me that it took him several hours per quiz to migrate. So it required handwork in addition to the technical part.
Yes, my understanding is that responders will either do all of your questions,
yes,
or all of your quizzes.
No, that's a good question. It migrates the questions, not the quizzes.
I thought it did both, in fact. But either way you do it, you've got some rearranging work to do.
Yes, definitely, because responders don't migrate everything, and then there were some technical problems in some question types, and the teacher actually he learned quite a lot of Moodle and HTML when he migrated the questions, and actually Moodle includes those question types, but all question types Blackboard has, but responders can't migrate them one-to-one. So responders doesn't understand all question types. But luckily we had only few teachers having quizzes. What's your situation? Do you have lots of quizzes? No.
Applied sciences tend to be where the main focus is.
Yes, we had also in medical sciences.
Yeah.
They used a lot.
Question type is quite critical from our point of view. Unfortunately, Moodle is able to provide that kind of question type. And response does a nice conversion on it. Or it did in Moodle 1.9 now.
Your responders is one idea, yes, and actually we didn't find anything else. So that's the only one. And it's got a free 30-day trial, so some teachers probably use that, so you don't have to buy it even. Yes?
Can I just say at the University of Strathclyde we did do an automated migration.
Pardon?
Last year we did do an automated migration from Blackboard to Moodle last year, and most things came over okay, not all, but most.
Which Blackboard did you have? The one after WebCT or the original Blackboard?
We originally had WebCT. So
Okay.
But the University of Kent had written a migration, and we basically used that.
Yeah, because if we hadn't migrated originally from WebCT to Blackboard, we could have done it automatically from Blackboard to Moodle. But unfortunately, we were so stupid that we had the Blackboard there in between. So that was the problem. And then we had such version that we don't get the statistics, because the larger version would have cost like 30,000 euros more per year. So we.
The question about migration is not whether you can, but whether you should.
Mm.
You're taking Moodle and then just dump everybody's stuff on Blackboard or WebCT, whichever version. Is that really the ideal way of doing it? Should you not incorporate migration as part of staff development?
Mm-hmm.
Allowing people to use and get this advantage out of the new architecture of Moodle, which is like, well, certainly from a user perspective, very much a linear daily content, the old WebCT Blackboard folders.
I like the way you had you wound it down, you stopped new courses, then new content and things. And sometimes migration's done for political reasons rather than technical or
I'd be very interested to find out about these tools that are migrating from Blackboard to Moodle. And is there a tool from Kent?
University of Kent.
Right. Is that in public domain, or is it something that?
No, I think you would have to check with them, but we can give you some.
And which one would you have used to go from Blackboard to Moodle? You just said there was a way you could have done it automatically.
We tried to negotiate for a solution. There was a company who first promised us to have a migration tool. But we discussed, and then finally they didn't answer us anymore. So we decided that we wouldn't wait for them anymore, and then do it ourselves. Because we had like 1,500 course areas in Blackboard. Some of them had come from WebCT from 2003 or something like that. So they were really ancient, and we didn't want them to in our Moodle.
We're doing a similar kind of thing. We're moving from Blackboard Vista, WebCT Vista to Moodle 1.9 this year, and we're using the Kent tool.
Which one?
The Kent migration tool, but basically to take almost like an archive of the WebCT database. We're not migrating content over. The reasons that yourself made about getting staff to use the migration to learn how to use the tool. So we're not going to migrate any WebCT areas into Moodle, but we will have database backed up. So obviously when the license stops, we'll have no access to the database. So we want to make sure that almost for disaster recovery, if nothing else, we've got the database in a format we can use. If you back up the WebCT database, you can't use it with anything other than WebCT, which means if you don't have a license for it, you're stuck.
Exactly. Yes, that's one part of why we have so long migration period, that we want the teachers to take all their contents and take the responsibility for their contents also. But we've actually discussed the problem that there might be some women on maternal leave for 2 years, or someone being on some research period somewhere, and if they come back after 5 years, what then? But then we thought that, well, 3 years or 5 years is so long period that you should actually structure your course then from scratch.
That's been hard to be the last question.
Yes, okay. Thank you.